Okay, so here we are, Bite-Size Trust. All members, we've all signed, adhere to the agenda. The agenda is always the same. We're going through videos and going through content and working on content. I'm going to share my screen here. So these are the currently released videos. It was funny. I was getting like 600, 800 views, and then the later ones were like Keys and Dids got 16 views. I have no I will never make a social media manager. I will never be an influencer because I have no idea how to play this. And then authentication keys and stuff, which are the later videos, and they went back up to higher views. So anyway, that's cute about the views. I'm making this as I think bite-sized trust works well. My goal has been to make it as a library of references, and then you can send people to them and they can get, pick up on topics and stuff like that. Like if you're talking to somebody about DIDs and you want to get into it, you can point it out there. So those are all the videos that have been published. I'm on the Google Doc. I'll share that again in the chat. It's the same Google Doc all the time. It's got like everything in it. So if you're looking at the menu here, you can see all the parts. So that's our charter. And these are the videos, and that's that link with the page for everything because we're the only ones publishing under hashtag Bite-Size Trust for now. That works. I've been collecting the names of contributors. Uh, then the scripts. So I'll go down to the bottom in scripts finished. You can find all the published scripts that are up or abandoned ones. And then above that, we have scripts at different levels of finality. So I've got these are the scripts that have been written for fact checking. And then there's some scripts that are being written. So I don't have anything from trust spanning protocol, for example. There's currently no scripts ready for video generation or for publication. And then further ideas here. So like Scott and I had talked about governance script ideas. So they are bookmarked here. And these are all less well-developed scripts. So I can go up to, I wanted to read this script here because I'm doing some fact checking right now for trust registries. And because Scott, governance expert, then I thought to get his input on that especially. And then the rest are like maybe while Scott's away, Neil, do you know anything about multi-key signing in the DID spec?
I'm not clear about the only group that's I've seen really tackle multi-sig is literally the Glyph and Carry crowd. I don't
Yeah.
know that multi-sig is in the like the W3C did spec.
Yeah.
I
There
believe
might be
it's
like a threshold or something, but I haven't I've looked at it and then I haven't looked at it in a while. So, but you're right, Glyph and also so did did WebVH and did WebS both support multi-sig? So anyway, so I need to, that's some of the fact checking. And then I have, I think, a pretty good script on key pre-rotation and the others. But so let me read whose did is it anyway? So decentralized identifiers or DIDs contain public keys linked to and it's not technically public keys. I'm just always saying public keys, but it's actually, you can put in other things that aren't just keys. There might be pointers to other keys, or they might be other types of authentication. Or yeah, anyway, which I don't think I'm ever going to make into a bite-sized trust video because I don't think there's an audience for it. Anyway, so contain public keys linked to the subject of a DID document. These keys let that subject prove who they are, sign credentials, and verify claims. Now imagine Alice says she has a degree from Acme University. She shows you a signed credential to prove it. But how do you know she's really educated Alice and not duplicitous Alice with a fake credential? You start by checking the credential signature. It points to the issuer's DID, Acme University. You resolve that DID, retrieve the DID document, and verify the signature using the public key listed there. Here's the problem. Both educated Alice and duplicitous Alice might present credentials that are technically valid, each signed by a different DID claiming to be Acme University. So which one is real? That's where governance comes in. DIDs themselves don't express human or institutional trust. They only prove key control. To know who actually owns a DID, we need to look beyond the cryptography. Enter trust registries. A trust registry is where governance-based trust meets technical trust. It lists DIDs that have been verified or endorsed by a recognized authority, like an education network, government, or standards body. So Acme University's true DID will appear in trusted registries, referenced by others, while a fake or duplicitous DID will not. That's how decentralized identity blends cryptography and governance to help us know not that a claim is signed, but who is really behind it. So what do you think of that script and what kind of changes, if any? Scott, especially with you being a governance guy?
It flows nicely. I'm okay for now.
Okay. There's always, of course,
I think Drummond is more the did guy.
yeah.
Well,
But yep.
certainly this certainly lines up with what John Phillips over in Australia now. He's on the UN. I think he's co-chair on the UN Committee on Trust Registries.
Mhm.
And certainly the problem that he's seeing is that, you could only advise, certain, nation states as to what they need to do. So to some extent, it suggests that there's definitely going to be a quality of assurance factor that's going to come into play across different nation states. But,
Okay.
so the ultimate flaw there is if you've got a really,
Crappy.
if you've got poor governance at especially if you've got a national trust registry, which is a registry of registries, and it's loosey-goosey in terms of the flow through there, then you've got potential problems, and that might be something to talk about possibly in a separate video.
Right. Yeah.
Talks about what is a sign when governance is all the technical stuff is there, but the human governance is not very tight.
And you know what? We don't even have, like, we're still building out. So those are very valid concerns about how does one judge because I talk about this, a recognized authority. So a DID will appear in trusted registries. Well, how will we determine trusted registries and how will we observe that they are referenced by others? So that those tech for traversing trust registries and evaluating. I mean, it's a bit like, when you're downloading an app from the App Store, which I always feel very uncomfortable doing. You're kind of like, how do I know? The best you can do is that maybe it was linked from the web page, so you've got DNS trust. Maybe it's got like 50,000 downloads as opposed to 500 or less, and then you're like feeling a bit more confident because of these trust signals and stuff like that. But yeah, and when you buy online, you're like, well, maybe I'm going to get stuff for my table saw, or maybe I'm not.
Yeah.
Well, I would say, I mean, what we've seen with the personal credential work is they've certainly dragged, and I mean, we all know that Sam Smith has been talking about reputation.
Yeah.
Is getting a strong pull here. So again, it's like anybody else, you're dealing with some declared professional from a personal services standpoint, like a lawyer or somebody else.
Mhm.
It's like, okay, show me the associations that you've got certificates
Yeah,
from, and et cetera.
yeah, yeah.
And a personal recommendation from somebody I know wouldn't hurt.
Yeah, yeah, because our trust networks are both overlaid on we have, like official ones like maybe the Better Business Bureau or the Yellow Pages or something where it, and then we have our personal trust network where, when I was looking for Windows, I asked around to see of the companies that do exist, what ones do people like to recommend stuff, so you've got, we're not all going to agree on the same network of all the trust that we should do.
Yeah, and a case in point would be how does it happen in the non-technical world right now? So
Yeah,
if you're a company in Canada dealing with somebody in some Southeast Asian country, um,
yeah,
where's the first people you're going to talk to? It's other Canadians who've been dealing with some of these people for
yeah,
years.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
if you can't find any, it probably tells you something.
yeah. Okay. So let me run by, it's a short script, but I wanted to include it because DIDs aren't just for keys. DID service endpoints. When you resolve a decentralized identifier or DID, you don't just get back keys, you also get something called service endpoints. A service endpoint is like the address book entry for your DID. It tells others where to reach you, what protocols you support, or which services you're connected to. For example, a DID document might list an endpoint for secure messaging with DID.com, another for credential exchange, or even a simple URL for a profile page. Each service endpoint is described with a type and ID and a URI. But here's the key. DIDs themselves don't handle routing. They don't deliver your messages. Instead, service endpoints connect your DID world to existing infrastructure, like the internet, peer-to-peer networks, or even email. That's how messages actually get from point A to point B. So think of service endpoints as the bridge. The keys in your DID prove who you are, but the service endpoints tell others how to find you and which communication channels to use.
So one thing you said, this is the key. I would refrain from using any other usage of the key because that's very
Yeah,
confusing.
yeah, 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 yeah. Okay, good point. But
It's a key point.
That's a key point. That's right.
here's an important point. DIDs themselves don't handle routing. Or you said key point?
Well, I
Um,
mean, DIDs to some extent are a token.
yep,
If you want to go talk to, and I'm thinking particularly about the OpenID Connect crowd, they're the equivalent in many ways of something akin to an authentication or authorization token. This is
right.
really, it's really
No
a,
authorization though.
no,
There's no
I just
author.
meant,
Yeah, yeah.
they talk
Functional.
about, the functional elements, you've got, an identity token. So if you look at, this is to some extent, a DID is a variation on the OpenID Connect identity token,
Right.
right? So it's,
So
it's,
Scott, I was thinking, I think I read this elsewhere as well, that a DID is like in comparison to traditional PKI, a traditional PKI is going to have the key infrastructure, but also the relationships and the identity versus a did document doesn't have any identity. So you've separated out those two locuses of control. You have your key infrastructure, and then things like a trust registry, for example, can layer on the identity to regain the functionalities that PKI had.
Well, I would say that it relates to a X509 certificate. So
Okay.
the certificate holds the public key and it links to the policy that
Right.
created it. And it also creates chaining.
Right.
So, there's a bunch of things going on in that statement. So,
Mhm.
um, I would be careful around that, but it's used as it's well, the did it's the did itself um the did itself is not, where was I going there? The did itself is not a certificate. I mean, it's the credential, that's the certificate. So
Yep.
I would be careful around comparing, PKI and X509. Um, the difference is that DIDs are introducing links to names, organizations, and elements on the internet, whereas in a lot of cases, PKI or PKI communication communicates to machine addresses.
Right.
That's
Okay.
the main difference. So it's not really PKI. I wouldn't necessarily get there. It's DIDs are used to identify to a ultimate source. And
Right.
then,
And then
uh, as opposed to, I view it like the current system of machine readable addresses gets you to a mailbox, and the mailbox has to decouple that and get it to you. The did gets you directly to you.
right. Okay. Yeah.
That would be the easiest in a bite-sized trust thing, is a current system of addressing gets communication to server addresses, or basically mailboxes. So,
Yeah.
if you send me an email, the protocols associated with it will get to my email server, and my email server will then unpack it and get it to me. But if I had DIDs in it, they would know to get it to me directly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can add an email as a service endpoint. So I guess it's via didcom that you go straight did to did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Right. But it allows direct, I can get it
Routing.
directly to ship to me.
Yeah. Although since I'm not
Without
eternally
any,
online.
and that's the key thing, is so key thing. That's an important thing. You can get it done without any intermediary. I don't need a server. It'll come to me.
Right. Although if I'm not eternally online, it's gonna have to queue in something.
Right, right. I'll have
Yeah.
to get it true, but it'll get it to me, not necessarily, well, or a service that's defined by me,
Right.
as opposed to, I sign up with an email service and I have with GoDaddy, because they run,
Yeah.
that's where my email server goes. GoDaddy is the only one that can get my emails.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's with SETI and a lot of these things that there is, I think SETI especially is moving towards the true decentralized model. And we'll
Right.
see how far they go. But
Yeah, we're gonna have them at the
they're
symposium.
very, with all the, Kerry stuff and all the people in Utah, very, they
Right.
think they're gonna move forward with the
Right.
complete model that they've built out. Good,
That's
bad,
right.
different.
So
We'll see.
SETI is carry based.
It will be. It
It
will
will
be.
be. Is it WebS or carry?
It's well, so right now we don't even have a governance we don't have anything.
Yeah.
But they are some of the demos that I saw in Utah was using Carry, Caesar, and ACDCs.
Right. That's the whole carry ecosystem.
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
Correct. That's what they're, and hopefully they want me for the governance framework. I don't care, as long as they
Hmm.
figure it out and get that nailed down. But they,
Yeah.
obviously with Timothy and Sam Smith and all those people involved, they're going to, that's going to be on the table for sure.
Yeah.
And they have to kind of work out how it works. And they did have some demonstration that works with that. So, and they are talking to Clive. So the
Okay.
model is really going, you know, and from a decentralized ownership that, you know, they've been designing that for that purpose. So
Right.
we'll see.
If you're
Uh,
interested in getting into the guts of VLEI, well, Carry ultimately, they have this whole, I didn't bother running the Jupyter notebooks. I'm just reading the markdown files myself. But they have a thing where it describes all the parts of working through Carry. So this is
right.
like where you send your developers to or whatever. But yeah, it's got, you know, what a cal is, what an AC/DC is, and stuff like that. So just
Good. Where is that?
I'll so that's the markdown that I'm reading. And then but the training page itself is here because I didn't bother setting it up with Jupyter Notebooks because if you do set it up with Jupyter Notebooks, you clone the repo and then you can run the you can you can run the tests and stuff like that.
So
You
all
can
I
run the
got is
command.
BLEI trainings. Is that the mark? Which one? Oh, the first one was?
Yeah, so this is so VLE trainings is the top level. And then, because they want you to do Jupyter Notebooks, and I didn't want to do Jupyter Notebooks. I just wanted to read about it. So I went into the Markdown, and then I just started going through the Markdown files. So that's the instruction. Uh, and then sometimes the Markdown will talk about, oh yeah, in the Jupyter Notebook, you can type this and try it out yourself, but I'm not going to try it out myself. So then I'm at the modes and OBs. Neil, you've talked about OBs before, out of band introduction.
Well, it's how do you start the whole thing rolling, right?
As far as I can tell, so they're like the first one. I'm like, oh,
Right.
it's
So,
a
hey, I want,
URL. No, pretty much. It's like go to this address and look for this object. And yeah. Anyway, um,
well, my favorite one was them talking about, setting up stuff literally for Glyph with an organization. And it was literally people sitting on a Zoom call, putting stuff in the chat as the Ubi channel.
yeah, yeah. But yeah. And so presumably this would show up in a trust registry because you're in the trust registry, you would say, there's my did. You know, they'd be like, I trust within the governance structure, we have accredited the following identifiers that belong to controllers or subjects that have passed. And then it's a link to the did, I think.
Could well
So
be.
yeah, but then they're adding other permissions and stuff like that into the adding additional information about the governance layers. Okay, so I think like other than the first multi-sig, I'm ready, I think, to go ahead and start turning these into videos.
Okay.
So yeah, so let me read another one to check and then so key pre-rotation. Keys and digital identity come in pairs, a private key and a public key. You keep the private key secret, usually stored in a secure digital wallet. The public key, on the other hand, is meant to be shared, for example, by publishing it in a DID document so that others can use it to verify you. With these keys, you can do powerful things. You can authenticate yourself online and log into services without passwords. You can also digitally sign documents such as a university signing degrees for its graduates, and anyone can check that signature against the public key. But there's a catch. If your private key is ever compromised, maybe your wallet gets hacked or the storage system is tricked, your identity could be at risk, meaning that someone could impersonate you online. That's why it's good practice to rotate your keys, retire the old ones, and start using a new one. In DID systems, these updates may be recorded in the DID document data so that anyone resolving the DID knows which key is current. Still, that raises a problem. What if an attacker steals your key and performs the rotation before you can? Suddenly, they look like the rightful controller of your DID, and you can't reclaim control because the system now trusts their key. This is where key pre-rotation comes in. With pre-rotation, every time you create a key, you also generate the next one in advance. Instead of publishing the full future key, you publish a cryptographic digest, a commitment to the key you'll use next. Later, when you rotate, you reveal the actual key, and anyone can check that it matches the digest you committed earlier. Where this pre-rotation data is stored is specific to each DID method and is not part of the DID core specification. Some DID methods, like DID WebS and DID WebVH, support key pre-rotation, and other methods do not. With key pre-rotation, even if someone compromises your current private key, they can't hijack your DID because they don't know the next key you've already committed to. Where supported, pre-rotation makes key rotation predictable and tamper-resistant, securing DIDs against takeover.
Okay, a couple things.
Yeah.
One is if your key is that's why it's good practice to rotate your keys frequently. So rotate your keys, you could do it every other year, but that's, in PKI and F5 would, they're moving towards, 40 something days.
Okay.
So just say frequently.
Yeah.
The other is the important thing about the pre-rotation is that the person who owns the key also owns access to the next key.
Yeah. Okay.
That's the key point. There you go.
Okay.
That's
So
the important point that they so that the control remains with the holder.
okay. So with pre-rotation, every time
And
you
that's the
create a
beauty
key,
part. That's the whole beauty of Gary.
yeah. So okay, so let me stick that in. With pre-rotation, every time you create a key, you also generate the next one in advance.
Right,
And
that's
keep
correct.
keep it's safe and ready, or keeping
keeping it secure
making
and
sure to
available.
keep it secure and
And
ready for
available,
future use.
available, not ready, available.
But not too available, because otherwise, if you store it right next to the if you store it right next in the wallet and they compromise your wallet, they're like, you ain't got your good one and your new one.
Well, but it's
Well,
available. It's,
Yeah.
I don't know, to me, you use ready so that you could use it the
Yeah.
same.
Yeah. With pre-rotation, every time you create a key, you also generate the next one in advance, making sure to keep it secure and available for future use. Instead of publishing the full future public key, you publish a cryptographic digest of the public key.
well, if you were looking at a strategy, I think the sort of thing here is I'm going to store it in a essentially either a completely offline location or one that is rarely accessed, that you are not even going to give any hints that it exists. So
Yeah.
and only you can access it. So it's a question of finding places to hide it. I mean, it's like the old joke about go to your local bank and put it in the lockbox.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So keeping it secure, I think I don't, I think that covers that, and I can't say too much more, but that would be a nice other one to do in the future about better key storage and stuff like that. Well, okay. So instead of publishing the full future public key, you publish a cryptographic digest of the public key, a commitment to the key you'll use next. Later, when you rotate, you reveal the actual public key, and anyone can check that it matches the digest you committed earlier. So every time you create a public private key pair, because it always is in pairs, you also generate the next pair in advance, making sure to keep them secure and available for future use. Instead of publishing the full future public key, you publish a cryptographic digest of that public key. A commitment to the key you'll use next. A commitment to the key pair you'll use next. Later, when you rotate, you reveal the actual public key, and anyone can check that it matches the digest you committed earlier. Okay. Any other comments? Okay. Where do you store private keys? When you create a decentralized identifier, or DID, you end up with a pair of keys, a public key, which you share in your DID document, and a private key, which you must keep safe. So where do you store your private keys? Keys are generally stored in digital wallets, and wallets can be on the edge or in the cloud. Edge storage means keeping the key directly on your device. It might live in your phone's secret enclave, on a hardware security module, or inside a digital wallet app. The advantage: you hold the keys, no one can touch them, and you can even keep your important recovery keys offline entirely for greater security. The risk is that if you lose your device and don't have a backup, you lose your keys too. The other option is cloud storage. Here, the keys are encrypted and stored with a provider. That might look like a custody service managed by your enterprise, or cloud-based wallets that sync across devices. The upside is convenience and recovery. If your phone dies, you can still get your keys back, but the trade-off is trust. You're depending on the cloud service to secure them properly. In practice, many digital wallets combine both. They store the key on your device, but back it up with encrypted recovery from the cloud. That way you get the best of both worlds, control on the edge and resilience from the cloud. So whether you choose edge or cloud, remember, the security of your private keys determines the security of your DID. Lose the keys and you lose the identity.
Yeah, as I just dropped in the chat, I mean, my understanding is the traditional one is something that's an air-gapped machine, right?
Yeah, okay.
So I have to drop
Yeah.
now.
Okay.
So,
Thank
okay.
you.
Sorry about that.
No problem. Bye. Air gap computing. Okay, yeah. Keys offline.
Yeah, I mean, it could be, you carry a physical something on your,
Yeah.
you carry, let's say, I mean, a classic case I ran into somebody who was, who was he from? He was from YubiKey. You know those
Right.
guys?
Yeah.
And
I have
and
two of them right here.
And I was getting a lift back. This was about 3 or 4 years ago. Getting a lift back to the airport with this guy because leaving from, and he said, he had a really rough conference because he had two of the YubiKeys and he lost both of them. And he actually had to get his wife to courier the third one in the secure storage to him. And he says, not enough duplicates and
Yeah.
the problem with the physical device is it's too easy to lose or have it stolen. So
Yeah. Okay. Other than that, you think I could go ahead and produce a video for that?
oh yeah, no, I think all the stuff ties together nicely. In other
Okay.
words, the real challenge for making this something that goes out there in the public world is going to be services that make all this stuff transparent to you.
Yeah.
It's way too deep.
Okay. Well, the last script to check, other than the first one with the multi-sig, which is I don't know, hybrid storage and social recovery for private keys. When you create a decentralized identifier, or DID, the most important thing you have is your private key. If you lose it, you lose control of the identity. So how do you keep it safe without making it impossible to recover? That's where hybrid storage comes in. Instead of choosing hybrid storage of your private key comes in. Instead of choosing between edge storage or cloud storage for your private keys, you combine them. For example, your wallet might store the key securely on your device, but also back it up in the cloud, encrypted, so only you can unlock it. But what if you forget your password or lose access entirely? That's where social recovery adds another layer. Imagine splitting your recovery key into pieces and giving one share each to a few trusted friends or devices you own. No single person can unlock your identity, but if you collect enough shares, say 3 out of 5, you can reconstruct the key and recover your disk. This way, you're not relying on a cloud provider and you're not left stranded if your phone dies. Hybrid storage with social recovery blends convenience, resilience, and trust, making decentralized identity practical for real world use.
Yeah, actually, I just heard something in the last week about somebody's fancy new phone that if you lose it, you're completely out of luck because
Okay.
they require certain things that are tied to the device, so you can't
Yeah.
move credentials
You can't
somewhere.
move keys. Yeah. Some of them are you can't move the keys.
And
Yeah.
that's like, eee. It's like you must be kidding.
Yeah.
So it's got a ways to go. To make it seamless
Yep.
is going to be a real challenge.
Yep. Okay. But other than that, I mean, the concepts are there.
Yeah,
So
this is essential for people to understand. No, you've still got the question of sources of data, and I don't mean VCs. I mean, like I said, the Hat Pro is looking at a huge amount of information that is going to be, the travel industry wants it really bad because how do they personalize if I don't know a lot about you?
yeah.
But keeping that secure, like I said, one of the things that I'm pushing hard is, you can ask for information, but you get a one-time use of it, and you can't
Yeah.
store it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But in other words, it's only in the possession of a service for a very short period of time.
Yeah.
Um, you conclude your transaction, and you have a token to come back and ask for it again in a future date. But you don't leave it lying around.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So I just have to learn about multi-sig in DID documents because I know that multi-sig is like carry and DID WebVH support multi-sig, but that's external to the DID document.
Yeah.
Um, but there was the thresholds. Okay.
Well, the one thing that I'm stretching back here because it's been a couple of years since I've heard this. But my understanding is that what's critical to multisig is an AC/DC chain that's being used to define who the people are who have the rights. So it's the coordinator of what's the list of DIDs
I don't think it
that
was in, yeah, yeah, there, but they did have, they did in, is it in here in carry? No, not the, because I saw the syntax. I saw the syntax where it was like, yeah, anyway, that they would say like you need 3 or something like that. So
well,
not,
that's like 3 of 5, right? So
yeah, that's right.
it's like going to a bank and saying we've got 5 officers and we want any two.
But that was
Just
right in the kel because it was control of the controlling key. It was the controlling key of the did document. Well, the kel from which is derived did document data.
Yeah, and
So
the AC/DC is the chain that you need, to keep, the AC/DC is your history, your
yeah.
verifiable history, right?
No, no, it's not the verifiable history of the controller of the did. That's all in the kel log.
No, no, but I meant of the who are the 3 of 5,
Oh, I think
right?
that's right in the kel log. It is right in the kel log of or the equivalent in WebVH. They've got their what they call it their the metadata. Well, anyway, it's been a while since I've looked at.
Yeah, it's all very involved, but it's
Yeah. I need to learn more about, need to learn more about, um, uh, WebVH details as well. Oh, and I don't know anything about, well, much about AC/DCs, but anyway, I'm not there yet. I'm still at OBs. Slowly making my way through. So,
well,
uh,
let's put it this way. If you want to look at this, if you want to look at AC/DCs, the original intent, as I understand it, was basically looking at something like supply chains. So how do you have record of all of the players in the supply chain so they can look at the current state and then look back at it over time? So it's really a it's really a it's it is something other than a kel, which can be floating around anywhere, which is a verifiable log,
mhm.
right? So it's something that could
Yeah,
sit out there, so you can use it for just about anything. So that was always my understanding, whether Sam said it or
yeah,
not. That was where I
yeah,
would is that um, it's
yeah. Okay, anyway, I'm slowly getting my way through it. And I think we can call an end to today's meeting. Thank you very much for
all right.
the input into the scripts. I can start working on the next ones.
Yeah, I'm not wrestling our friendly neighborhood chat GPT that keeps changing its mind about what you thought you told it, which is amusing.
Oh,
What
I saw an interesting thing about a point. Oh, because all right now there's a whole bunch of layoffs happening where they're saying, "Oh, we're more efficient because of AI, so we have to do all these layoffs now." And AI is just the acceptable excuse for you having to do layoffs because the economy's kind of sucking.
Well, yeah, I would certainly, I follow a fair amount of economic stuff, and that sure as hell is an excuse. Because of it, like I said, I mean, last week it started constantly going into, and you can probably turn the recording off at this point.
Mhm.
What it was